Hello, beautiful souls. I hope you are doing well. I am driving once again, and as I was getting ready for work this morning, I got a download, and I had a counseling appointment over Zoom this morning, and then some stuff was brought up during the counseling that kind of confirmed the download that I received. And then I remember Spirit saying, you need to get this message out today. And then I kind of forgot because I was getting ready for work and dropping kiddo off at daycare. And then I was reminded, don't forget about that message that you were supposed to bring. And I'm like, okay, that's right. And then I'm like, well, can you remind me what the message was? So sometimes that's how it happens with downloads. It's not always super smooth, okay? I am by far not an expert in any of this, so I simply am obedient to, what I feel divinely led to do, and I trust in that guidance. So, excuse me. I was just eating some yogurt, so my throat's a little scratchy. Give me a second here to take a sip of water as I go through a roundabout. Don't worry, my hands are on the wheel. I am being safe. I just need to concentrate so I don't... There we go. Okay. So, thanks for hanging with me for that few brief moments there. So the spiritual journey, and I wasn't given like real specific details on how to bring this message. It was just kind of a general message, and usually when Spirit does that, it's because they're going to kind of start channeling through me, and I'm not going to have to think about it too hard. So I'm just going to start off here with what I think the direction they wanted to go with it, and then we'll see where it leads. So as I was talking with my counselor today, we were kind of just going over my journey. She has been with me since about 2018, when I was at my lowest point, when I was really struggling with heavy depression, spiritual warfare. I was recovering from narcissistic abuse, not physical, emotional, okay? And so she got to see me at my absolute lowest point, and now she's getting to see me at one of my highest points because I've gone through this journey. But the point that I want to stress here is that is a journey. And this, for me, so far has been about 5 years since the catalyst of my spiritual awakening. Now, obviously, our journey is from the time we're born, right? Because everything that we experience from the time we're born, even from past lives, is all part of the journey. But speaking of before my awakening, when I was still not aware that I was a spiritual being, I was not aware that I was living through an ego, I was not aware of how much trauma and wounds I had that were affecting my everyday life. Like, that was my sleep state. I like to call it the caterpillar phase, right? And so once you experience an awakening, and that is going to look different for everybody, because everybody, when they create their soul contract in the spiritual realm before they're born, before they're reincarnated, we come into this world with certain karmic debts that we need to pay off, lessons that we need to learn, experiences that we want to have, and we will contract with other souls to kind of make it happen. If you can think about it as if you're writing a play, okay, and you're going to be in that play as a character, and for each act of the play, you have certain characters that come in and leave, and certain things that happen, and the point is there is usually a moral to the story. There's some kind of evolution for the character. There's some kind of lessons that need to be learned. Well, that's kind of our life, right? So in our spiritual journey, all that is that we're awakening to that truth. We're awakening to the fact that this is all kind of an agreed upon illusion, and the truth of our being is that we're truly a divine being. We're a soul that's connected to divine source, the creator of the entire universe, and we're very powerful in that. And so the thing is you don't come into that awareness and then snap your fingers and all of a sudden you're this powerful being that you've embraced all that power, and you just go out into the world and you just, plow through it, and you're manifesting this and that, and you're perfectly healed and everything's hunky-dory and everything's perfect. No, it's a process, and every step of that process is going to look different for every single person, because a lot of it's going to depend on your free will. It's going to depend on which lessons you are working on. You might have a particular karmic lesson that you're trying to clear and learn, and you are repeating the lesson over and over, and the universe keeps putting opportunities in front of you to help you learn that lesson and clear that karma, and yet you're still not consciously aware of that, and so you keep repeating the lesson through your free will choices. And at some point, the good news is, at some point, you will end up embracing it, and you will be like, oh, I see that this is a pattern. I see that this keeps happening. I see that the universe has been putting this in front of me. What am I supposed to learn from this? And then that light bulb goes off, and you embrace that lesson. And then the next step in the journey is, once you embrace the lesson, you have to integrate the lesson into your everyday life. And that is also a journey, because it's not a one and done. You don't get the lesson, integrate it, and then you're done. It's the universe is going to constantly test you to make sure you've mastered it. So it's just like how we learn in school. You may learn multiplication and understand the concept with simple multiplication, like 5 times 5. And you're like, okay, I understand the concept, but now we're going to test you to really make sure you understand the concept by giving you increasingly more difficult challenges, right? And the good news is as you kind of master these lessons, when these obstacles come towards you, they are much easier to overcome. They're much easier to get through. And so the thing is that Spirit wants me to go back, is that the big difference here is when people are looking at the things that are happening in their life as things that are happening to them. So if something happens that we would perceive as negative or uncomfortable, it's very easy for us to kind of sink down into our ego energy and fall into pity and frustration and be like, why does this always happen? And the funny thing about that, and it's not funny, but it is funny, is that you're perpetuating that, because your thoughts are very powerful, and your thoughts dictate your actions. So if the universe has been sending you the same lesson over and over, and you haven't caught on yet that it's an opportunity instead of an obstacle, then you will continue to have negative thoughts about that. And then because you're continuing to have negative thoughts, you're going to perpetuate that and bring more of that into your life. And that's because you are literally co-creating with the universe. So you're, with your thoughts and your energy, you're telling the universe, I don't recognize this lesson yet, so send it to me again. And so you are 100% in control of when you get to learn the lesson and clear the karma and move on. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is the point of what I say when it is a journey. It is an evolution. You don't go online, watch a spiritual video, resonate with it, and think, okay, since I get it and I resonate with it, that means I know it and my life's going to change overnight. No, it's the resonation of the messages is the first step. That's the acknowledgement. That's the aha moment. But then that's when the real work begins, because now you have to choose to integrate that information. It's like when you're in school, when you understand the assignment, great. Now you have the power and the knowledge to do the work, but you still have to do the work in order to get the credit, right? So that's kind of how this journey is. And I feel like a lot of people, even within the spiritual community, kind of gloss over the importance of doing the work, the importance of, and also not just doing the work, but having a lot of compassion and grace and patience with yourself. Because again, a lot of these things are not going to happen overnight. They're not going to change overnight. It's something you're going to have to put a lot of effort into. It's going to be a lot of trial and error, because for a lot of this, you know, even if you are talking to, or I should say, if you're watching spiritual videos, listening to gurus, and you're resonating with all that, they can't do the work for you. They can only share with you their beliefs and what's worked for them, but you have to apply that and do the work for yourself. And so that's where a lot of people kind of stop, and so they don't experience the kind of growth that they were hoping for, because they don't realize just how intensive this spiritual journey is. And so now it's important to be able to recognize what it looks like when you're being led to do the inner work. Because I think that's another issue, is that a lot of people just don't know. Like, well, how do I know what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, how do I know what to do for the inner work? And so, excuse me, guys. I think it's dairy that does this to me. Because I notice anytime I have something with dairy, it clogs my throat a little bit. Or that could be a sign for someone, a synchronicity. I digress, because I got distracted and there's this person following behind me. It's I'm getting distracted, so I apologize for that. So when you need to know what that work looks like, okay, because there's so many opinions online in the spiritual community about how to go about doing things. And I myself, for one, when I started going inward for truth and seeking help, I actually asked the divine directly. And what that did is that opened up avenues for me. God started opening up doors for me, the right doors. So as he would close a door, and I would either mourn that or, you know, accept it, because some of those doors might have been friendships, relationships, opportunities that I thought I wanted, but God's like, no, that's not the right one for you. As I started accepting that, I noticed that he would open other doors. And then it became, okay, I need to recognize that this is coming from the divine, and I need to trust it, and I need to take action towards this. And then, so on the healing journey, what that looked like is, if I was struggling with something in particular, and I was having a hard time kind of healing from it, or understanding what it is I was supposed to be learning, I would ask God. I would go to the divine, and I'd say, you know, I don't understand why I keep repeating this. I'm acknowledging and noticing that it's a pattern, but what am I missing here? Why am I repeating this pattern? What am I missing? And then, because I was being open, I've asked, ask and ye shall receive. You know, God would put a resource in front of me, and I would recognize it, that it was from God, because it would be in a direct response to what I was asking for. And then that particular resource, you know, I would watch it or listen to it or whatever, or it could have just been a person in my life and a conversation that made a light bulb go off in my head. I would recognize that as an answer to what I was asking for. So it's not that I went to any one particular place or person, you know, in the community or online to get all of my answers. It's everybody, every resource that Spirit has put in front of me has had bits of truth that has helped me on my journey. So I think what Spirit is trying to say here, that's the important thing to take from this little section of the message, is that you may end up drawing wisdom and information and resources from a lot of different sources. It may not be just one, but, you know, for example, there's a lot of spiritual people I follow on YouTube, and many of them have helped me on my journey, but none of them have been the go-to, the one size fits all go-to for everything. And some of them, there's stuff I don't resonate with, that I don't agree with, that doesn't feel like truth for me. So I can have one particular person that, I agree with most of their stuff, but there might be an aspect of them that doesn't resonate for me. That doesn't mean I'm going to discard everything that I've learned from that person and I'm just going to be like, well, this person isn't for me. It means the universe, God, source, was using that person to get certain information to me because I needed that information, and it was what I had asked for. Okay? So as you're going about your journey and you're seeking wisdom and you're seeking answers and you're seeking truth, don't be afraid to kind of open up and be receptive to different sources, different people. And it doesn't have to be online. It could just be people that God will put in your life, conversations that you will have with people that have gone through certain experiences that will help give you insight into what you're going through. Just be open to receive that from a place of unconditional love, because the universe is the universe is not pigeonholed into one way of getting information to you or answering you. The universe is going to use lots of different ways. It could be through signs and synchronicities. It could be, thank you, Spirit. That was the main thing. It's like, it could be through signs and synchronicities. But to kind of put this all together, because I feel like I've pretty much touched on everything Spirit wanted me to touch on, is this journey is a journey for a reason. It's not a destination. You're not trying to reach a certain plateau of healing. You're going to constantly be working on yourself. You're going to be constantly evolving. And the best thing you can do is release expectations of there being some kind of ending or end of it, and just understand and go with the flow that every day it's going to be something new. You may think you have healed a particular wound, and then something happens to trigger you, and you realize there's a whole nother layer to it that you didn't even know about. And instead of freaking out and thinking, oh my God, I didn't heal from this, I'm not healed, blah, blah. Instead of doing that, just be okay with that and say, oh, okay, so that just means there's something more to it that I need to address. And come from it from a place of understanding that you're just... the analogy that God is giving me right now is like when you're a professional in a career, okay? For many professionals, they have to go to a university, they have to get a certain degree, and then they're able to start in their job. But for most of those people, they have to continue their education as they go, because things are changing, things are updating. They need to stay on top of their career for the latest and greatest advancements in technology and laws and things like that. So they're constantly evolving, they're constantly learning. That's how our spiritual journey is. And you're not going to just be learning from one source. I just don't think that's even possible. I think you're going to be learning from a lot of different people, a lot of different situations. The thing is, you just need to be able to be open to that. You need to be able to recognize that. And then you need to just constantly remind yourself, like, hey, just because I've got the information doesn't mean I'm magically fixed now. Another analogy they're giving me, I don't know why they're giving me this one, but for example, people who that are over, like, severely obese and overweight, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way. This is the example that God's giving me right now. A lot of them will go through like bypass surgery, right? Or like a tummy stapling or something like that. And they have to go through preparation. They usually have to go through counseling, and they have to lose a certain amount of weight to show that they're dedicated and all this. And then they lose the weight because of the surgery. If they haven't changed their habits and their mindset, many of those people end up gaining the weight back, and then they get even more severely depressed than they were beforehand, because they thought that by losing the weight they had reached the end goal, and that's not true. It's, we're constantly evolving. So in order to maintain that healthy weight, you have to do the work. You have to change your mindset. You have to change your relationship with food. You have to change the way you look at your body. You have to love yourself unconditionally and wholly and accept yourself, there's so much more that has to happen in order to maintain that weight loss. I don't know why he's using that example, so maybe that resonates for someone. So anyways, yeah, I know sometimes I sound like I'm repeating myself, but that's just because I'm listening to, what's coming through. So life's a journey, not a destination, right? I think that was Aerosmith. I like that band. And just be gentle with yourself, and remember that, and Spirit's showing me, when you are in the process of receiving an obstacle, you're going through something difficult in life, something uncomfortable, something painful, something unpleasant, try to shift your mindset. This is crucial in this process, because if you stay in the mindset of seeing it as an obstacle, you're keeping your energy in a very low vibrational place. And then you're less likely to learn from that experience, and you're more likely to repeat the experience. Because again, the universe is conspiring with your higher self with the intention of helping you to learn the lesson, clear the karma, and become a master of it, right? And so it's going to keep working with you to bring that back over and over and over until you finally have that aha moment where you recognize it for what it is. And the best way to have those aha moments is to change your mindset of how you look at things that happen to you in the earthly realm. The example they're giving to me is, let's say you're running late to work and you get a speeding ticket, or you get a flat tire. And if you're in the wrong mindset, you're going to think of that in all kinds of negative ways. Oh man, I'm going to be late. I'm going to get written up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And immediately you're putting yourself in a negative energy. And then what you end up manifesting is going to usually be exactly that. You're going to manifest those negative things to happen. The universe is saying, change your mindset. Perhaps the reason you got pulled over was to avoid an accident down the road. Maybe that was the universe saying, oh, we need to get you off the road, because if you continue on, you're about to get into a deadly accident. I'm just using that as an example. That might not be the case in every time, but, maybe it was to help you avoid something worse, So just understand that everything that happens in your life absolutely has a purpose, even the things that feel uncomfortable, and change your mindset about that. And again, it is something you have to choose. You have to choose to change your mindset, and that's part of the journey. And finally, yes, thank you, Spirit. Finally, to wrap this up, is to say that this journey is tough, but it's very rewarding. Once you start to embrace how powerful you are as a divine being, this journey becomes not only a little easier to navigate, but much more enjoyable. And it's much easier for you to find the joy in life. It's much easier for you to find the beauty in life. It's much easier for you to find the peace in life. And so don't be so hard on yourself. Trust the process. Be realistic with yourself, and remember that you're not going to heal overnight. You're not going to get it overnight. It's going to take time. It's going to take practice. It's going to take determination, perseverance. And also the final thing that Spirit wants to say specifically to you, which has come up recently for me, is make sure you're celebrating your victories along the way. And Spirit wants me to go into this little bit about success, because I feel this is important to understand. Success is not an end goal, okay? Success can be found in every moment. Every time you change your thought to something positive that's going to help you, benefit you, that's a success. Every time you make a better choice, that's a success. We can find success in all the small moments throughout our day, and those small moments build up. And when we feel successful, we perpetuate more success, because when we're feeling that victory, when we're feeling good about our choices and our thoughts and what's happening around us, what we end up doing is raising our vibration, and we end up manifesting more of that kind of energy into our physical existence. So we start actually bringing in more positive opportunities to have success. And so it kind of creates this domino effect. So make sure you are celebrating your successes. And listen, you have to celebrate you, because most people on the outside are not going to even know what's happening with you internally. They're not going to see the work that you're doing. They're not going to see the amount of inner healing you've been doing. And so you're not going to get it from external sources. You're not going to get that cheerleading from external sources. You have to become your best cheerleader. So that's also an intentional choice. And the example they keep giving me, and I think it's because of a personal example, is if you're trying to lose weight and you know that you eat out too much and that's contributing to you having gained weight and also wasting money, and you're coming off work and you drive by a McDonald's and you're tempted because you're hungry and you're tired and you don't want to go home and cook and clean and do all that, and you're tempted to go through that drive-through, but you have a moment where you're like, no, I'm not going to go through the drive-through. I'm going to go home and eat. And you pass the drive-through and you go straight home. That's a success. That's a victory. Celebrate that. Tell yourself, hey, good job on making a healthy choice. And get in the habit of doing that, and you will see that things are going to change very dramatically for you and very quickly, because that is the kind of energy that helps you to really learn the lessons, keep pushing forward, because sometimes these lessons, honestly, they get tough, they get hard, and we're human. And so sometimes we want to give up. Sometimes we don't want to keep pushing forward. We just want to give up because we're tired. We're not understanding why we're going through it, and we're getting weary. And so that's when it's most important to keep, praising ourselves and pushing ourselves. Not pushing, not pushing was the wrong word, but really just encouraging ourselves to keep going, because we can see how much progress we've made. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Anyways, I feel like I've pretty much tackled the whole message that Spirit put on me this morning. As usual, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments. Thank you for hanging out with me and sticking through the squirrely, So one of my coworkers said last night, I think you have ADHD. I'm like, I probably do. Who knows? But anyways, I thank you all so much. I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Bye.